Who needs enemies when they got friends like you?
New information coming in overnight. A violinist who was touring with Will Smith last year is now suing him over retaliation allegations.
Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. Unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was because it's already a legal issue right now.
It's easy to understand why he needs a minute, but some people are having a tough time with Will Smith being asked to leave. I don't know that that's so. They're having a tough time that he was asked to leave after he assaulted someone?
The moment the curtain trembles, you begin to notice the outlines of something far less polished than the image we've all been sold. Hollywood, that shimmering symbol of perfection, has always thrived on illusion. But what they don't want you to know is how carefully that illusion has been maintained.
Everybody acting like Will rebounded from the slap. Bro, when was Will down?
I mean, he was down.
He really wasn't.
No, he was down.
It was just social media, like nobody ever turned their back on Will Smith.
It wasn't that he was down, but I just think that like he's a superhero to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we grew up watching him in Fresh Prince. We saw him in all these superhero movies. Like he exemplifies what a superhero is. And then he was in this relationship where he was like seemingly being like emotionally and
we say seemingly
again,
right?
We don't know.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's our narrative.
It's exactly. It's all perception. But like even finding out about it's an open relationship and she's banging like their kids' friends and you're like allegedly, well not even allegedly, she was, and it's just like well superheroes wives don't kids' friends. Like it just starts to make him look
human. That's not human. That's all it did.
That's weird.
You know the best thing.
Name other humans with that.
You know the best. A lot.
Stop.
You know the best thing that happened to Will Smith over the last few years. He's been humanized, and that's what he wanted. Go back and listen to the Rap Radar interview that he did with B-Dot and Will Smith when they flew over to Tibet or wherever the to sit down and have a conversation with Will Smith. And he's talking about how, he had to keep up a perfect image his whole career.
Yeah.
He couldn't even curse.
Yeah.
He couldn't even be himself, yada, yada, yada. Then when you read his book, Will, you see a guy who's been wanting to take the mask off forever.
So, yeah, it's like he's liberated. Like before he was a mind goblin and now he's liberated. Oh, you're getting good. He's getting good. I can't catch him anymore. The guy's getting good.
It's the look you do. If I look at you when you do it, you can't get me. If I'm just listening, I'm like, what was that? But if I look at you, it's like a mind goblin. He does this whole thing, it's like a mind goblin. But that's all it is, man. It's good to see Will like this. I want to see what Chris does. Nobody's thinking about poor Chris.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I'm lying. We already saw what Chris did.
I mean,
Chris came out with special.
Yeah, the whole world watched his special. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris won. It's over.
Yeah.
They both. We knew this already though. Neither one of them was gonna have anything happen to their careers in a negative way.
I mean, that's a cool interview. Get the both of them back together.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I know.
That would be fire. Though.
I don't know. I don't know if Chris does it. It's really by Chris doing that, he can give Will so much back.
I don't think Will lost anything. The movie, he's got a freaking #1 movie 2 weeks in a row at the box office.
I'm not.
Yeah. Nobody ever cared.
No, I'm not saying that he did. No. I'm not saying that he can't be an actor, but I definitely think that he lost some credibility in the public eye.
I don't think he lost credibility. I just think that we just realized.
What are you trying to say, Taylor? The blacks are more okay with violence? Is that what you're trying to say?
By the way, Stephen A. Smith disagrees with Taylor. Stephen A. Smith said that, he lost credibility with mad black people.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't think so.
I don't think Will lost any credibility. I think the only, because Will don't owe anybody anything. The only person Will owes something to is Chris.
Yeah.
And it's not even an owe.
Yeah.
It's just like, yo, I did you dirty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got to apologize to you. Hopefully one day you find it in your heart to forgive me.
Yeah.
If not, everybody got to deal with the energy they put out into the world.
Yeah.
That would be a good interview, you know. But
oh my God. Just the two of them talking it out. Like, what's going on? What did you feel? What did it do to you? Like, I need you to understand what you did to me.
Do you realize Will Smith went on a whole press run for Bad Boys 4 and nobody asked him about it?
I'm sure that was part of it.
Oh, I'm sure the publicist.
Some people pay attention when the publicist asks them.
Well, that's they
no wonder why they stayed away from certain platforms. So they
he didn't come to Bad Boys. That's my guy though. But here's the thing.
He came already though, so it don't matter.
No, he did. He came for Bad Boys 3.
Layer by layer, year after year. Now, according to whispers online, the narrative is shifting in a way that feels different this time, harder to contain and far more revealing. At the center of it all stands Will Smith, once the embodiment of charisma and control, now surrounded by a storm of controversy that refuses to fade into the background. But is it really just a coincidence that as the spotlight grows harsher, voices like Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle, men who have long stood slightly outside the industry's inner circle, are the ones speaking with a clarity that others seem to avoid? The more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence. This isn't just about one unforgettable moment broadcast across the world. It's about the layers beneath the glittering surface of success, the quiet patterns, the questions that refuse to die, and the growing feeling that something just doesn't add up.
Developing this morning, a lawsuit is filed against Philly native Will Smith and his team. Our Liz Crawford is live for us at the Pulse Desk this morning. She is reading through the court documents. So, Liz, what do we know so far?
Well, Jan, new information coming in overnight. A violinist who was touring with Will Smith last year is now suing him over retaliation allegations. So here's what we know. According to the lawsuit, the violinist, Brian King Joseph, says last March, while in Las Vegas for a performance, he returned to his hotel room to find random items, including a beer bottle, HIV medication, and a note that said, "Brian, I'll be back later, just us." Now, the lawsuit says the plaintiff feared that an unknown individual would soon return to his room to engage in sex with plaintiff. He says once he reported the incident to Smith's team, he was fired and told he was lying about what happened. And just coming in, a statement from Will Smith's attorney saying, "Mr. Joseph's allegations concerning my client are false, baseless, and reckless. They are categorically denied, and we will use all legal means available to address these claims and to ensure that the truth is brought to light."
Imagine this. A room filled with the industry's most powerful figures, dressed in elegance, surrounded by prestige, yet reacting in a way that felt almost scripted. Some offering support, others choosing silence, and many applauding as if the moment itself could simply be absorbed and forgotten. Why now? Why did it take this long for the public to start connecting dots that, according to some, were always there, just never meant to be seen this clearly? Behind the carefully curated image, there's an unmistakable tension building, a sense that shadows behind the spotlight are beginning to stretch further than ever before. And when Jim Carrey stepped forward the very next morning, his words didn't just land, they lingered, cutting through the polished narrative with the kind of blunt honesty rarely heard from within those circles.
Well, Will Smith's rep says the allegation is unequivocally false, and sources say Dwayne Martin believes the claim is so ridiculous he has no plan to respond. But we have been able to verify one statement made on this podcast.
Who needs enemies when they got friends like you?
That guy's a real jerk, huh?
That guy sucks. Yeah, it's so disgusting for this guy to say anything like that in the first place, and then to put it on a podcast.
Tasha K, no less.
Tasha K got sued by Cardi B,
who won $3.4 million in a defamation suit. And there may be another one on the way.
What do you say about the allegations? Anything you want to say?
We suing. Wow.
Pretty definitive.
You know, but that's the interesting thing. To prove defamation, you have to prove it subjects you to scorn or ridicule.
And Will has precedent working against him.
It wasn't just criticism. It felt like a signal, a glimpse into what the cameras missed and the contracts never mentioned. And now, as more people revisit that moment, frame by frame, reaction by reaction, one thought keeps resurfacing. Why are they hiding this? And what else has been quietly overlooked while everyone was watching something else? Behind the carefully curated image, what set Jim Carrey apart wasn't just that he had an opinion, it was that he said the quiet part out loud, on camera, without hesitation. According to whispers online, many had thoughts, many felt something was off, but few were willing to cross that invisible line. Carrey did. He pointed directly at the institution itself, suggesting that Hollywood hadn't just mishandled a moment, it had revealed something deeper about how power protects itself. And the questions that refused to die began circling. What did that standing ovation really represent? Because the more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence. That moment, frozen in time, now feels like a signal. Something just doesn't add up, and people are starting to notice.
It's easy to understand why he needs a minute, but some people are having a tough time with Will Smith being asked to leave. I don't know that that's so. They're having a tough time that he was asked to leave after he assaulted someone?
I think the tough time may be that he was asked to leave and not told to leave.
Right.
And that he, after being asked to leave, refused to leave.
He said no.
That shows a lot of power, and we know he has a lot of Hollywood power, right? But it shows an incredible amount of entitlement. And a misunderstanding fundamentally of what he had just done.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed to hear at first that the Academy didn't ask him to leave. Now I know the Academy did the right thing and asked him to leave, but he refused. So I wonder, why does he just get to say, can you leave? I mean, most people
I don't
would
think
say,
that's. I don't
come
think
with
that,
me.
I don't think that's how it went down.
Yeah, I'm
just
curious.
gonna,
What do you think? What happened?
I think that he was asked to leave.
But why did he get the option? Is my question. I'm with Sonny on this.
Because I'm going to tell you why he got the option.
I think people want to know that.
Well, okay, so they come back from break.
Yeah.
Now, if he's in some sort of state and he's struggling and they're trying to get him out the door and it's still on camera. So it's a little bit, listen, we work a live show every day.
Yeah.
We work a live show every day and stuff happens and it comes out your mouth or you do something stupid and you got to sit there and deal with it. I can't imagine what was going on. I wasn't there. I can't imagine what was going on back there. But I do know that the only person anybody should be focusing on, in my opinion, is Will Smith, not Packer. Will Smith.
But it was an assault. So I kind of feel like I think there needs to be a lot of self-reflection in Hollywood. I'm with Wanda Sykes on this. Because
As you know, from their thing, it says they recognize that maybe they could have done a better job.
Yeah.
But I'm pointing out that we here know how fast stuff happens. You remember what happened.
I remember what happened.
And you suddenly, well, but it happened and there was nothing you could do. It was out. So stuff happens and I'm just saying, listen, those people who were there were stunned.
Yeah.
But then they gave him a standing ovation, though, Whoopi, which I think, again, goes back to why some people feel like Hollywood elites are a bunch of hypocrites, because they go out there and they give these, these statements of moral, superiority about things and political statements, and then they're doing a standing ovation after he just assaulted.
As one of those people, I gotta stop you because
you would have given him a standing ovation?
I would not have stood up, but that has nothing to do with why people do. Have you? Let me ask you a question.
In the moment, though?
In the moment. So you're sitting there, you just gone, oh, no, you've gone, what the, yeah. And you're up. Before you even know you've done something stupid.
There was time in between.
I'm telling you what folks have said who were there.
But
that's what they're saying. And I just want to stop with this elite stuff because, a lot of us work for a living. We work, we collect a check, we got families, we try to do the same thing, the good stuff that everybody else tries to do.
Dave Chappelle, on the other hand, has always carried the presence of someone observing from just outside the frame, a silhouette watching from the shadows of fame, taking note of the patterns others ignore. People are saying his entire career has been shaped by an awareness of the industry's hidden undercurrents, the unspoken rules about who is protected and who is quietly pushed aside. His decision years ago to step away from a massive deal wasn't just a career move. It was, as some suggest, a response to something he didn't fully trust behind the scenes. And then came that night. He was there. He felt the shift in the room, the kind of tension that lingers long after the camera stopped rolling. But is it really just a coincidence that days later, another strange moment unfolded during his live performance, adding yet another layer to the narrative people can't stop dissecting?
So like with people and the way they act, when I see people that are bitter now, that are just like are hurt for no reason or want to hurt people, I attribute it to something that happened to them when they couldn't protect themselves. Because I never got, luckily. I never was traumatized when I couldn't defend myself. I was protected very well. I don't know who I would be if I got violated when I couldn't fight back. You know, I'm lucky enough to be untraumatized other than the things that other people are traumatized about, like death. Like I lost my mother at 16, but no one ever violated me. You know, I'm not mad at nobody. I don't feel like I have to get revenge. You know, I do want revenge for Aaliyah's death. I just don't know who to get.
Right.
And I was crying the other day about that, you know, but I don't know what the, man, but it's getting weirder and weirder. But I just feel like if somebody really did that, then someone deserves to be, someone should avenge her.
Gotcha.
You know, it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. Everything that happens with this conspiracy, I gotta fucking know them. I don't want to deal with that shit. I'd rather be in the crowd and be like, I wonder if this is real or not. Like now I remember all these years they were saying I was in the Illuminati and I was, what the f*** I don't have no money. Like, you know what I'm saying? I should have a lot more money. I'd have a lot more help. I don't have no brothers helping me. But now I'm like, oh, I'd have really been in the Illuminati.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's inevitable now. It just, you know, it seems like the Europeans needed to, because what I'm understanding, you know, there was a war to keep the British out of America. So the only way they could get in America would be through someone that's American.
Right.
So it looks like they funded the Carnegie dude. He got his money from Europe. And I don't even believe the Rockefellers was like that even now. I don't even know if Mark Zuckerberg is like that. Anyone aggregating data, I'm like, you might work for the government. Someone just put you up there. If I can't figure it out, if I'm not like impressed with your logic when I speak to you, because again, there would be certain people that are locked up now, and I'd be talking to them, and I'd be like, there's no business acumen. They don't even understand what's going on. How the f they keep getting these deals? Where are they getting this money from? Like, I just be seeing people else money, and I just like, well, it just, I know what you make. I know what you got to spend. I know about margins. I'm like, I don't know how you getting this kind of bread. So from now on, if I can't figure it out, you just pop up and you the Great Gatsby for no reason, you a spy. You know what I'm saying? Period. You either with Russia, Mossad, or, you know, the government, CIA. But that's the way you get people. You their vices. You get them drunk, high, and then you make, and it seems like they get you on camera, and then they mail you. And then you got to go against your friends. I don't think they want to. I think they got caught up.
In the months that followed, Chappelle didn't let the moment fade. Instead, he returned to it again and again, not just as material, but as a lens, a way to examine the system itself. According to whispers online, he wasn't just talking about one incident. He was pointing at something much larger, something embedded deep within the culture of celebrity. The way the industry responded, the speed at which support seemed to organize, the silence from others, it all painted a picture that raised even more questions. Why now? Why does this pattern keep resurfacing no matter how hard they try to bury it? The public was never meant to question, yet here they are, looking closer than ever before. And then there's the connection that keeps pulling people back in. Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle, two voices from very different paths, yet somehow arriving at similar observations. The quiet wisdom of stars who had already walked through the fire, now speaking in ways to feel less like coincidence and more like alignment. Reddit users have been digging into this for years, tracing moments, interviews, subtle remarks, threads of intrigue that refuse to fade into the background. When two figures like that start pointing in the same direction, people are saying it's worth asking, why are they hiding this, and what exactly lies just beyond the frame?
What do you think as you watched it unfold and then what happened after? I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the audience and done that, they would have been escorted out by security or maybe even arrested. The police asked Chris if he wanted to file charges. They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd have announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time. If you want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
No, I agree. I think we all agree on that. I just thought, Jim, that it escalated to that. You know what I mean? That it escalated to that level.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and I wish him the best. I really do. I don't have anything against Will Smith. He's done great things. But that was not a good moment. It cast a pall over everybody's shining moment last night. You know, a lot of people worked really hard to get to that place and to have their moment in the sun and to get their award for the really hard work they did. And it is no mean feat to go through all the stuff you have to go through when you're nominated for an Oscar. It's a gauntlet of devotion that you have to do. And it was just a selfish moment to cast a pall over the whole thing.
At the same time, the narrative surrounding Will Smith continues to evolve in ways that feel increasingly complex. Whatever the public image once was, the legal developments unfolding in the background are becoming harder to ignore. The most recent situation, emerging quietly toward the end of 2025, introduced a new layer, one that, according to whispers online, adds weight to the growing sense that something deeper may be at play. A civil case, filed in Los Angeles, brought forward claims that hint at patterns rather than isolated moments. And while the details remain part of an ongoing process, the timing alone has sparked a wave of speculation. Why now? Why does it feel like everything is surfacing at once? The silence between the headlines speaks louder than ever, and as more pieces begin to align, the questions that refuse to die only grow louder. What they don't want you to know, and how much of it has been sitting just out of view this entire time. According to whispers online, the story takes on an even more unsettling tone when you follow the timeline closely. Brian King Joseph's entry into Will Smith's orbit in late 2024 seemed, at first glance, like another moment of opportunity, an artist stepping onto a global stage. But what they don't want you to know, some suggest, is how quickly that professional connection allegedly blurred into something far more personal. The lawsuit describes a dynamic that felt unusually intense, led with words and gestures that hinted at exclusivity. Something just doesn't add up. And then came the Las Vegas incident in March 2025, a moment captured not in headlines at first, but in quiet filings and insider whispers. A hotel room, unexpected access, and a message that raised more questions than answers. But is it really just a coincidence that after reporting it, Joseph claims the situation turned against him? What followed, as people are saying, only deepened the intrigue. Instead of clarity, the response Joseph describes was one of dismissal, even isolation, an experience that, according to some interpretations, reflects a broader pattern within the industry's hidden undercurrents. Smith's legal team has firmly rejected every claim, calling them entirely unfounded, and the case remains unresolved. But the more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence that this lawsuit arrives at a time when scrutiny around power, access, and accountability in elite circles is intensifying. Why now? Why does it feel like multiple narratives are converging at once, as if something larger is beginning to surface from beneath years of silence?
Hey everybody, I just wanted to talk about something really important. Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. Unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was because it's already a legal issue right now. But the reason why I'm speaking out about this is because getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting conduct or safety threats at work is not okay. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there who have been afraid to speak up, and I understand. And if that's you, I see you. And that's pretty much it. More updates to come soon. Thanks for listening.
Because this case doesn't exist in isolation, it echoes against a much wider backdrop. In late 2025, a wave of newly released documents connected to long-discussed networks of influence began circulating publicly, triggering what many describe as a moment of collective re-examination. Reddit users have been digging into this for years, tracing names, connections, timelines, threads of intrigue that refuse to fade into the background. The documents themselves are complex, filled with references that range from incidental to deeply scrutinized. And it's important to remember that inclusion alone does not imply wrongdoing. And yet, the questions that refuse to die remain. How did these networks operate? Who had access? And why does the silence between the headlines feel so deliberate? And now, as the spotlight suddenly shifts back to Hollywood, the same question Jim Carrey once raised seems to echo louder than ever. Who protects whom, and why are they hiding this? The public was never meant to question at this level, yet here we are, watching patterns form in real time. Something has undeniably changed. Over the past 2 years, Will Smith, once everywhere, impossible to ignore, has taken a step back to feels less like coincidence and more like strategy. Behind the carefully curated image, there's a noticeable absence, a quiet retreat that hasn't gone unnoticed. Projects haven't landed the same way. Insiders, speaking carefully, have hinted at hesitation within the system. And one phrase continues to surface in low tones. People are saying the tide has shifted. And when a figure that iconic begins to fade from the center of the frame, the silence itself becomes impossible to ignore, raising one final, lingering thought. What else is happening just out of sight? Behind the carefully curated image, the narrative only grows more complex as new layers quietly emerge. According to Whispers Online, even Will Smith's 2024 tour, ironically titled Based on a True Story, carried its own wave of subtle controversy. Observers began questioning promotional footage, wondering if what they were seeing truly reflected reality, or if something had been carefully enhanced to preserve an illusion. But is it really just a coincidence that at the same time, reports surfaced of major property sales involving both Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, moves some described as strategic, others as necessary? The more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence. Something just doesn't add up, and people are starting to connect details that once felt unrelated. Then came the lawsuit, and then came something even harder to ignore, the shift in public attention. As broader conversations about powerful networks began resurfacing, Smith's name started appearing more frequently in online discussions, not as a confirmed link, but as a part of a growing web of speculation. Reddit users have been digging into this for years, tracing patterns, revisiting interviews, analyzing moments that once seemed insignificant. And while no verified connection has been established, the questions that refuse to die continue to echo louder. Why now? Why does it feel like multiple threads are converging all at once, as if guided by something just beneath the surface?
Hey guys, Jackson Buhai here with TMZ, and it seems like Will Smith is in a lot of hot water regarding this new harassment lawsuit. Now, in a world where lawsuits are frequently filed against celebrities, unfortunately, you may be sitting at home thinking that you know exactly what kind of allegations these are. Well, let me tell you, you don't, and we're going to get into them in just a second. Now, what I also want to get into is that these are just allegations. We are not going to know exactly what happened in this case until it reaches court. One other thing I want to add is that we reached out to Will Smith's lawyer, who had a lot to say regarding this lawsuit, and I don't think you guys are prepared for what he said to us, so stick around until the end to find out what he said. So if you remember, back in March of 2025, Will Smith launched his very first tour in over 20 years called Based on a True Story Tour. So lawsuit aside, this tour actually took the public by surprise, considering that Will Smith was coming off the back end of the major controversy that most have coined the slappening. Obviously, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. What shocked me in particular was that I didn't know Will Smith had fans. I mean, I knew he had fans, but not enough fans to fill multiple stadiums across the tour. No hate to Will Smith. Growing up, I loved Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but my God, that did take me by surprise. Okay, I'm getting off topic here, but let's continue. So, in launching this tour, Will Smith hired a violinist that goes by the name of Brian King Joseph. Now, that name may or may not ring a bell to you because Brian King Joseph has actually garnered a significant following on social media for posting his violin videos. Editor, roll the clip right here. He also appeared in America's Got Talent back in 2013 and has worked with a variety of big artists. Now, Brian here in this lawsuit is claiming that in November of 2024, Will Smith asked him to come over to his house to discuss an upcoming opportunity regarding his tour. Brian went over to the house and played the violin for Will Smith. Will Smith liked what he heard and subsequently played at a one-off show in San Diego before being invited to play on the rest of Will Smith's tour.
Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry.
So Will Smith and Brian cultivated a close relationship thereafter, with the lawsuit even stating that Will Smith at one point told Brian, "You and I have such a special connection that I don't have with anyone else." So fast forward to March of 2025 and the tour has begun and it starts in Las Vegas. Now in this lawsuit, Brian has alleged that Will Smith's team booked all of the hotels and their rooms in advance, according to him. So a little bit before the show starts, everybody checks into the hotel and everything seems fine at first, but the real kicker is when Brian returned to his hotel room, there were signs in his mind of a break-in. Now there are no signs of forced entry or burglary, but a piece of evidence is noted in the complaint. And this is where things really start to take off. I quote from the lawsuit, "The evidence included a handwritten note addressed to plaintiff by name, which read, 'Brian, I'll be back no later than 5:30. Just us, drawn heart, stone F.' Among the remaining belongings were wipes, a beer bottle, a red backpack, a bottle of HIV medications with another individual's name, an earring, and hospital discharge paperwork belonging to a person unbeknownst to plaintiff. Plaintiff feared that an unknown individual would soon return to his room to engage in sexual acts with the plaintiff. Concerned for his safety and the safety of his fellow performers and crew, plaintiff immediately notified hotel security and representatives for defendant, obtained photo documentation, requested a room change, and called the local non-emergency police line to report the incident." Now, what a lot of people are wondering is, does this substantiate Brian's claim of sexual harassment, and could Will Smith's legal team argue against it entirely? Now, after the Las Vegas shows were done, Brian reached out to someone named Tim Miller. Now, the lawsuit doesn't explain who Tim Miller is, but we can conjecture that it's somebody that's in control of the tour or the performances. And when Brian asked for further reasoning, Miller blamed him for what happened in the hotel room just days prior in Las Vegas. I quote from the lawsuit again, "When plaintiff requested for further reasoning, Tim Miller, acting on behalf of defendants, redirected the blame for the termination onto plaintiff, replying, 'I don't know, you tell me, because everyone is telling me what happened to you is a lie. Nothing happened, and you made the whole thing up. So tell me, why did you lie and make this up?'"
What is undeniable, however, is the silence. In an industry built on constant visibility, absence becomes its own kind of statement, and Will Smith's gradual retreat from the spotlight has not gone unnoticed. People are saying it feels deliberate, not accidental, a quiet step back at a time when attention is intensifying. The silence between the headlines speaks louder than ever, leaving a vacuum filled only by speculation and curiosity. What they don't want you to know, some suggest, is that silence itself can be a strategy, a way of letting the noise pass without ever directly confronting it. But this story was never just about one individual. Jim Carrey seemed to understand that long before the narrative reached this point. His words after that now infamous moment weren't simply criticism. They felt more like a diagnosis of the system itself. A system, according to Whispers Online, that prioritizes image over introspection, that shields influence while quietly sidelining disruption. Dave Chappelle, in his own way, has echoed that perspective for years. A watchful eye from the upper reaches of the game, he has consistently pointed toward the industry's hidden undercurrents, how power operates, how it protects, and how it responds when challenged. And now, with new context shaping old events, his reflections on the incident seem less like commentary and more like a case study. Because it was never just about what happened, it was about how everyone reacted to it. The more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence. The reactions, the silences, the carefully measured responses, they all hinted something larger, something systemic, the kind of machinery that operates quietly, efficiently, and often invisibly, the kind that raises one unavoidable question: why are they hiding this? As more information surfaces and more connections are explored, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Understanding these moments requires looking beyond the surface. The documents, the discussions, the resurfacing conversations all suggest that networks of influence may be far more interconnected than they appear, not through explicit confirmation, but through patterns that keep resurfacing no matter how hard they try to bury it. And within those patterns lies the real intrigue, not just who was involved, but how silence itself became part of the system. Because in Hollywood, accountability has never followed a straight line. For every moment that sparks outrage, there are others that fade quietly into the background. For every question asked, there are many left unanswered. And as voices like Carrey and Chappelle continue to linger in the conversation, two figures who have long questioned the structure itself, their perspective now feels more relevant than ever. The silence, the patterns, the timing, it all leads back to the same unsettling thought. The public was never meant to question this deeply, and yet now that they are, the real story may only just be beginning. According to Whispers Online, what we're witnessing now isn't just another headline cycle. It's the slow exposure of a system that has perfected the art of quiet resolution. For every case that reaches the public eye, people are saying there are countless others that fade into carefully negotiated silence, wrapped in legal language and managed narratives. What they don't want you to know is how deeply embedded that pattern may be. An industry with vast resources, long institutional memory, and an unspoken understanding of who gets rewarded and who quietly disappears from the spotlight. But is it really just a coincidence that all at once, multiple forces are beginning to disrupt that silence? The more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence, because this moment feels different. The release of long-discussed documents, the emergence of lawsuits like the one involving Brian King Joseph, and the willingness of figures like Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle to speak openly, all of it is converging into something that's becoming harder to ignore. The questions that refuse to die are no longer confined to private conversations. They're spilling into the public space, gaining momentum with every passing day. And right at the center of this convergence sits Will Smith, a figure whose story now feels inseparable from the larger narrative unfolding around him. Something just doesn't add up, and people are starting to ask, why now? To be clear, as of this moment, Smith has not been found legally responsible for any criminal wrongdoing, and his legal team continues to strongly deny all allegations. But the court of public opinion doesn't wait for final verdicts. It moves on perception, timing, and the weight of surrounding context. Behind the carefully curated image, a different picture is beginning to shape. One shaped by ongoing legal battles, a noticeable retreat from the public eye, and a cultural shift that's forcing deeper questions about how Hollywood operates behind closed doors. Why are they hiding this? Or perhaps more importantly, what else hasn't surfaced yet? What's unfolding feels less like an isolated situation and more like the unraveling of something much older, something that has been sustained for decades. The public was never meant to question the idea that Hollywood was purely a merit-driven world, that success came down to talent, effort, and timing alone. But now, according to Whispers Online, that narrative is being slowly dismantled, piece by piece. The documents, the lawsuits, the insider perspectives, they're all adding layers to a story that feels far more complex than the polished image ever suggested. And that's where the deeper intrigue lies. Will Smith was once the perfect symbol of that polished image, charismatic, successful, universally recognized, but the distance between that image and the current moment has become impossible to ignore. The more you look at it, the less it looks like coincidence. It starts to feel like a window into something much bigger, a system of protection, influence, and carefully maintained narratives that extend far beyond any one individual. The silence between the headlines speaks louder than ever, and with each passing week, that silence only grows heavier. So now we're left with the question that lingers long after the headlines fade. If this is what's visible, what remains hidden? If Hollywood has spent decades protecting its most powerful figures, how many more stories are still waiting just beneath the surface for the right moment to emerge? Comment below with what you think is really going on. Leave a like if this gave you chills, and subscribe plus turn on notifications for more hidden Hollywood secrets.